Our next inductee is indeed Mike Lee. He also was a standout athlete at Windsor and then on at Syracuse University. Mike earned 11 varsity letters, including those for his performances in football and baseball. In baseball, good enough to get a look by the Phillies, but he wanted to keep playing basketball, and so got to put that aside, and then, of course, went on and starred at Syracuse. In basketball, to say he was a standout would be an understatement. Over his 4 years at Windsor, Mike scored 1,435 points. That currently ranks him 28th in all time in the New York State Section 4 scoring list. Following his senior year, he was named the 1969 Press and Sun Bulletin Athlete of the Year. In 1981, Section 4 inducted both he and Jim into its Hall of Fame. Recruited by Syracuse coach Roy Danforth, Lee helped, along with his brother Jim, revive the SU basketball program. He started every game of his 3-year seasons. At that time, freshmen were ineligible to play varsity, averaging 16.3 points a game, 7.2 rebounds a game. His 1,353 points helped propel SU to a 65-18 record in 3 postseason tournament appearances. Following his junior year, when he averaged 18 points a game, Mike was named Player of the Year for the combined New England Mid-Atlantic regions by Coach and Athlete magazine. That season saw him score a career-high 34 points in a game against George Washington. And at one point in the season, he sank 34 consecutive free throws. Of interest was the fact that in the 72-73 campaign, he, along with his brother Jim, played together. With Mike as captain, the pair combined to average 27 points a game, and they went on to record a record of 24-5 that season. He was drafted by the NBA's Buffalo Braves in 1973, and eventually he joined the Le Moyne College basketball coaching staff, where he coached from 1975 to 1982. The last 4 years, he was head coach of the Dolphins. He's been honored many times, including in 1984 when both he and his brother were presented with the Vic Hansen Medal of Excellence. In 2000, both Mike and Jim were both named to the Syracuse University Basketball All-Century Team. And then in 2002, he was inducted into the Greater Syracuse Sports Hall of Fame. Currently residing in the Fayetteville-Manlius area, welcome home, Mike Lee.
Thank you very much. This is quite an honor. So Tony, thank you, and the Greater Binghamton Hall of Fame, thank you. If you see a lady jumping up and down, going like this cut, she said she's giving me 3 minutes to talk. That's my wife, Janine, over there. Okay. So, well, Jim, of course, said a lot of things I'm going to, so I got to modify my speech here a little bit. But I've done that quite well over the years. Up in the Syracuse area, everybody knows Jim and I, we're related to Syracuse University in some way or another. And I don't know how many times, it even happened this year when Syracuse went to the Final Four, so many people in the community will say, the team's going to the Final Four. How was your trip there? We remember you were such a great shooter. And I got so tired of correcting everybody, probably the last 20, 30 years, I say thank you to everybody. It was a great trip, and I let it go at that. So following up on Jim, I just go, well, it's much, much easier. Perhaps my first encounter with Windsor High School, there's a lot of Windsorites here, which was a first step towards us getting up to Syracuse University. I always remember my dad took us when I was about 7th or 8th grade over to Susquehanna Valley High School to watch Windsor play. And a guy by the name of Al Klump played there, who was probably my first hero I used to watch. And I'm sure a lot of people around here know Al. He was a really good athlete, football and basketball, and went to Colgate. And my dad used to say, take me to the game, he'd say, now watch that Klump kid play. He is unselfish, he knows how to play, he's the kind of player he was. My dad would love him, and so I'd watch him, and it was true. I loved the way Al played, and I hope I picked up a little bit like that. But as the coaches and people have talked here, team ball, of course, is very important, being part of a team. In Windsor, New York, I had some great coaches. Baseball coach was Dean Ginther, which a lot of people in the area have known over the years. Tommy Mott is here, one of my players in the baseball team from Windsor High School. Football, Coach Elmer Ackley was our coach, and we had a great time in football. My good buddy John Allen and new golf partners was a part of that team. He was even a wrestler. Somehow I got hooked up with the wrestler John Allen, who was, a lot of people might know as Schnengle Valley AD and known around the area, and a guy named Al Packer, who's famous down there. Everybody knows Al, golf fanatic. And Al actually wanted me to say a few words about him. I got a long thing here, but we're short on time, so Al, I can't tell them all about you. But Al is famous in the area, and I somehow, like I was telling Troy here, I got hooked up with these wrestlers. I'm not sure how a basketball player hooks up with wrestlers because they're same season, don't mix up. And I always tell these guys how the way they think, I just don't get it. I shake my head, but they always remind me that I'm their friend and I'm always with them, so I don't have a comeback to that. Basketball coach, Jack Collins is here. Jack, stand up. My brother said hello. Let everybody say hello to you. Jack was our high school basketball coach. And we had a great time. Jack led us to an undefeated season our senior year. And some of the guys from Windsor, we all got together a year or two ago and taught Jack a few things about golf. He thought he was a golf coach till he golfed with myself and a guy named Roger Forehand and the great Barry Webb. And then he learned a few other things he never thought he'd learn. Now, playing with Jim, I have to mention quickly, Jim, in basketball, having been around the college coaches and players, many times you hear a coach say, oh, he's a great shooter. This kid's a great shooter. And being in the coaching business a little bit and listening, you hear people, when someone's a great shooter, that means they sometimes have a lot of deficiencies. But when Jim played, if people had watched, he is labeled a great shooter at Syracuse University, and he was a great shooter. But he was very steady, could guard anybody playing defense, and never made mistakes as a ball handler bringing it down the court. So I don't know if he was a one or two man as they label players these days, but there were no mistakes, and that's why he was a good sound player and a very good player up at Syracuse. After Windsor, went to Syracuse. He mentioned Coach Danforth. He was our coach. He was a great guy. He's from the South. He used to say he didn't understand how Jim and I learned to play basketball in the Binghamton area because he always said, there's no basketball players in the Binghamton area. And he used to have a real southern drawl because he was from the deep South. And he'd watch us play once in a while. And I remember one day after practice, he calls me aside, and he's just shaking his head. He goes, how the hell did you guys ever learn to play basketball in Kirkwood, New York? Which, I don't know, Coach, but it was fun. And I say hello to Sonny Sparrow, one of Coach Boeheim's favorite players. Right, Sonny? And again, I think my time is probably up, my wife says, so I got to move on here. But it's been great. It's a great honor. It's good to come home here to Binghamton. I see a lot of people I know, got a chance to say hello to them. One I didn't mention, Grant Buck. He's my drag racing coach. He's a good friend of mine. But it's good to see everybody, and thank you very much for the award. And it's a great thing you got going here. I'm sure it'll get better year by year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.